Howdy, Howdy, back to the channel. You know what I'm saying? If you ain't check out the last video, make sure you check out the last video. You know what I'm saying? Hit the noti bell so y'all don't miss a drop. You know what I'm saying? Because I will be posting sometimes, random times. You know what I'm saying? It is summer, so I know y'all out. You know what I'm saying? I know all the kids is out. You feel me? Today, we got a video about a Batman movie update, and there's going to be a Marvel DC crossover.
James Gunn just dropped a ton of information not
I'm
only
excited
about
about
the
this, man. I
upcoming
really
Superman
like
film,
DC, bro.
but
I
the
love their
future
TV shows.
of
I
DC
just
as a
finished one.
whole. He does reveal some amazing things about Superman, but he talks about how Batman is going to be the
Not the
priority
Flash.
moving forward. He talks about Wonder Woman, Matt Reeves is the Batman 2, and he also talks about a Marvel DC crossover, and he says that it's actually been
Bro, I've been saying, bro, if y'all been over here, bro, I've been saying for like the past few videos, low key, almost every video, almost, you know what I'm saying? That I've always felt like DC and Marvel should do a crossover, bro. All these heroes, bro, some of these heroes be in the same areas and all that. That's why I'm like, bro, ain't no way they ain't ran into each other at least once or twice, bro. Marvel and DC characters. I really think they could do something very, very, very lucrative. You know what I'm saying? If they come together and start making movies and maybe video games, TV shows, probably that's probably what it's gonna be. They probably gonna team up on like the TV show aspect or maybe the video game aspect or something like that. But the only reason why I don't see a movie happening is because you need Kevin Feige and James. Well, they worked together before, so it's not like they can't do it again. You know what I'm saying? No, I ain't gonna. I'm excited now. No, I'm excited, bro. I wonder what the
talked
idea
about
is. Hold on,
a
let's see.
lot. And he really
I'm
dives
excited.
into
I
what
forgot,
his
bro.
thoughts
Worked
are
with Kevin
about
Feige and them.
making
You
a
know what I'm saying?
Marvel and DC film. This
Before
interview
he
with Rolling
became
Stones
captain of
also talks
DC.
about Marvel and what went wrong over at Marvel Studios these past handful of years. He addresses just a ton of things, so let's talk about the updates first
Oh,
for
he gonna
DC
tell
and
us
then
what's going
talk
on with
about
Marvel?
Superman. This is a very long article and interview with Rolling Stone titled
Or the reasons
Superman
why he left?
Director James Gunn. You don't want everyone to root for you. DC Studios co-CEO goes deep on his high-stakes take on the Man of Steel, the future.
I don't know if that's his quote or if it's a quote for Superman or whatever, but that is fact, bro. You don't want everyone to root for you, bro. If you got haters, I mean, you're doing something right. If you don't, I mean, if you don't, it ain't always a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? Because we see some actors who really get love from everybody. You know what I'm saying? So it ain't always a bad thing, but it's just like when everybody like you, bro, somebody's trying to trick you, bro. Like that's how I see it. When everybody like you, there's somebody trying to trick you, bro. Cause not I don't think everybody like everybody,
of his
bro.
new
Let's
DC
be real.
universe and
I just
how
don't think
getting
that's just
fired
how life
helped
is,
him
bro.
feel loved.
It's usually just one
The
person.
opening paragraph says that together, him and Peter Safran, they're creating a new superhero universe around some very old characters, aiming to finally make Superman
They
and
making a new
friends and
universe?
family and Flying Pet truly competitive with the currently shaky.
But I don't know if y'all saw, but I saw on Instagram, bro, they were talking about a Spider-Man and Superman crossover movie type thing, bro. And I'm sitting here like, bro, what kind of villains would they fight, bro? Because they both do different things. You know, I'm pretty sure Superman can fight everybody that Superman can. I mean, that Spider-Man can. But I'm not sure that Spider-Man can fight everybody that Superman can. So it really got me thinking, what kind of movie would that be if they actually do something like that? You know?
Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, if you want
But
to
I
read
could
the
see
full
them
article, I encourage you
starting
to do so. It talks a lot about James Gunn and
a
his journey
crossover
to get
with
here to
Superman and Spider-Man,
CEO or
though. The two
co-CEO
most
of
popular
DC
films.
Studios
Yeah.
and directing and writing this new Superman film. We're going to skip past a lot and go right to the updates.
Can't
We'll
wait till
start
Superman
with
come out.
Batman, which James Gunn calls his biggest issue in all of DC right now. And it even starts off by talking about how James Gunn
Robert
is
Pattinson playing
indeed kind of
Batman, bro?
open to having Robert Pattinson's The Batman be the main Batman of the DC universe. They said, you once
There's
said
gonna be
that the
variants here
fact
too.
that Robert Pattinson's Batman is not in this universe was Matt Reeves' choice. Does that mean if it were up to you, you would have just pulled that into your universe? James Gunn said it would be a consideration. We'd have to think about it. We'd have to think about it. It's not like we've never discussed it. And here's where he talks about his biggest issue. They state, it's interesting. Your answer is much more present tense than I expected, as if it's an ongoing
You know what
possibility.
I like about James Gunn, bro? He really do be answering a lot of these fans' questions and stuff. At least the ones that intrigue him the most to answer. You know what I'm saying? Which I really do like, bro. And I think a lot of people love him more because he do that, you know?
Ability. James Gunn replied with, "No, I don't. Batman's my biggest issue in all of DC right now personally. And I'm not writing Batman, but I'm working with the writer of Batman and trying to get it right because he's incredibly important to DC,
Well, yeah,
as
of
is
course.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
So outside of the stuff that I'm doing in the projects that are actively going, our two priorities are finishing our Wonder Woman and our Batman scripts," which he did confirm in the last big interview that we got that, yeah, Wonder Woman and Batman, those are his main priorities right now. And he does confirm
They
that
are,
it's still
other
The
than
Brave and the
Superman, the
Bold.
main
They
people, though.
state the Batman
And then you
script,
got
is that
Aquaman
still
and,
called The Brave and the Bold? He replies with, "Right now, yeah, right now." Meaning it could certainly change.
See, I honestly think, I don't think Robert Pattinson gonna play Batman, bro. I think James Gunn wants him to, but he knows most likely he might not. You know what I'm saying? I think Robert Pattinson, he might end up being too busy, or they might find a better Batman, bro. Let's be honest, bro. Because the Batman with Robert Pattinson, bro, I watched it, but I only watched it once. So I'm not gonna sit here and tell y'all, I really remember everything from the movie. But what I do know is I wasn't as into it as I thought I was going to be. You know what I'm saying? Like I felt like it was a lot missing, or it wasn't enough action. You know, like it was really just trying to, like, yeah, it was a little action, but it wasn't enough for Batman. You know? I feel like Batman does a lot more fighting than he did in that movie. I'm just being honest, bro.
But here's where he talks about what needs to happen with Batman in the DC universe. Rolling Stone says, in the broadest sense, what needs to be figured out to make those two properties work? Batman in this universe, ? James Gunn says, Batman has to have a reason for existing, right? So Batman can't just be, oh, yeah, we're making a Batman movie because Batman's the biggest character in all of Warner Brothers, like, which he is. But because there's a need for him in the DCU and a need that he's not exactly the same as Matt's Batman. But yet he's not a campy Batman. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in a funny, campy Batman, really. So we're dealing with that. A savage Batman? I think I have a way in, by the way. I think I really know what it's. I just am dealing with the writer to make sure that we can make it a reality. So big details about Batman, the Brave and the Bold there. We're not going to have a campy, funny Batman. He is going to be a serious Batman. And he does give a little bit more detail about what he means when he's asked about Wonder Woman. He said
that just had me thinking about the Green Lantern stuff he working on too. Bro, James Gunn working on a lot, bro. He working on a lot. Bro, I ain't gonna lie. So, okay. So is he planning on making DC more grimy and savage, you know? Because we know the last DC, well, I ain't going to say that, but we know the other DC characters, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say they were more funny or whatever, but there was a little bit more comedy, you know what I'm saying? To where you could laugh a little bit, you know? It was good comedy, though. But so from what I'm getting from this, he's trying to make things more savage, more fighting scenes, more break bones, more like Frank Castle and Daredevil vibes, you know? Which I'm honestly okay with, bro, because DC is supposed to be like, I always feel like DC was the dark version of Marvel, you know, like the darker side of Marvel. That's why, like, when I was a kid, I just think Marvel and DC was the same exact thing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, in all honesty, bro, when you think about it, it really is, bro. DC really is the dark version of Marvel, bro. Like, let's be real, bro. Don't sit here and lie. It really is the dark version of Marvel. Bro.
But Wonder Woman is easier for him because there haven't been so many infinite portrayals of Wonder Woman. And he says that Batman, though, it seems like half of the comics that have come out of DC over the past 30 years have Batman in them. He's the most famous superhero in the world and the most popular superhero in the world. And people love him because he is interesting. But also having so much of him out there can also make him boring. So how do you create that property that's fun to watch? So even though he's not going to be campy and funny, of course it's still going to be a fun watch. Then on top of it all, they asked again, just to clear it up, is there still a non-zero chance that Matt Reeves' Batman will get sucked into your universe? In which James Gunn said, I would never say zero because you never know, but it's not likely. It's not likely at all. And I'll also say that Batman Part 2 is not canceled. We don't have a script. Matt's slow. Let him take his time. Let him do what he's doing. God, people are mean. Let him do his thing, man. So there you go. The Batman Part 2 is not.
Was that a diss, bro? I feel like he didn't even have to say that for real. You know what I'm saying? But we gonna let it slide. We gonna let it slide because I really do like James. I love the Rise of the Guard. I was gonna say Rise of the Guardians of the Galaxy, bro. Is that the title of the movie? Nah, it ain't.
Canceled, and Batman for the main DCU is very important to James Gunn, and he's figuring it out right now. Also, quick update on Supergirl. They said that's no longer called Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, correct? And James Gunn said, I think it's just called Supergirl. So just like he removed Legacy from Superman, he has now removed Woman of Tomorrow from Supergirl, and that is just Supergirl.
I'm really excited for
Now, as far as the Marvel DC crossover is concerned, he has a lot of thoughts on it, and I gotta say, I do really love his take on it. The Rolling Stone says, sitting on the table here is a Superman/Spider-Man crossover comic book from the 70s. At some point, it feels like it's gonna happen in the movies, doesn't it? Maybe 10 years from now.
This may be the last ad you ever
see. Meaning the
10 years from, bro, some of us not gonna be here, bro. We need these movies right now. They be telling us like, yeah, we finna do this in 20 years. Y'all probably never gonna be here, bro. We all growing up. You know what I'm saying? That, bro, they need to start on these movies right now and give it to us in the next 2 years or something. You know,
Superman/Spider-Man,
that's
or
crazy,
really
bro. I don't like how they do
DC/Marvel crossover.
I thought this
was
James Gunn come up like
we talked about it a billion times. That could easily happen, but simultaneous to that, I think it would be interesting. But I also think people are a little over it. I think people want to see good stories with their superheroes, and that's what matters. And we'll pause right here for a second because I just have to say I absolutely agree with him. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I do really love fan service, but it has to fit within a good story. There has to be a purpose for it. And I love the fact that they have talked about a Marvel DC crossover so much that he says they've talked about it a billion times. That's a lot. But they haven't pulled the trigger because there hasn't been an actual reason to do so story-wise.
Bro, I just thought of something, bro. They could have did this mashup. Bro, they could have did this mashup for Avengers Doomsday, bro. You know how Dr. Doom is finna go get the X-Men? Bro, Dr. Doom could have went and got the Justice League, bro. Bro, that could have been the story, bro, because we know he can, you know, go through dimensions and stuff like that, bro. Who's to say he couldn't just go over there and get Batman and all them to fight Spider-Man and all them, bro? Dr. Doom could have been the person who did it. See, this is why I believe they could have kept going with the Kang story, bro. Now they bringing up this idea, bro. If Kang would have been the first story, then Dr. Doom could have been the person who brought in the Injustice League or, you know, DC characters to come in and fight Marvel characters, and he would have been the person who bridged the gap in between Marvel and DC, bro. That is crazy, bro. I just gave him my idea, but that's like $1 billion idea right there, bro.
So I really do like that take on it.
Dr.
But he
Doom
does
could have been the guy to do it.
He says, and they want to see different types of stories with their superheroes, and people love superheroes. That's obvious, but they need more variety, and they need just more quality storytelling. Again, I 100% agree. And he says, and just having Spider-Man and Superman team up isn't going to do it if it's shit. So it's got to come from a real place, and it's really hard to make that work. I did Superman because I love the character, and I was excited about writing that movie. If I were to write a Superman versus Spider-Man movie, is it a concept I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, this could be a great film? Or am I going to do it because, oh yeah, people want to see Superman and Spider-Man team up? For me, it would have to be, if we ever did that, it would have to be under someone who thought it was going to be awesome and wasn't just a cash grab, because I'm just not into that.
Yeah,
so it seems like as far as a Marvel and DC crossover is concerned, he is specifically thinking about Spider-Man and Superman, and that would be kind of hard because of the rights issue with Sony. James Gunn and Kevin Feige are still very good friends. So the option for Marvel and DC to cross over is certainly there. Kevin Feige himself said that he's open to it, but if it has to be Spider-Man in James Gunn's mind, that might be hard to work out with Sony and Marvel. But the good news is James Gunn says
Sony be cock blocking, bro. Let's be, bro.
talked about it a
Let's figure
billion
something out
times,
because this
so
is
it's
crazy, bro.
definitely
We need
on the radar.
to
Now, as far as
y'all
Superman is concerned, I
y'all
highly
need to let him
encourage
free,
everyone to
bro.
read this entire article because it sounds like James Gunn just really hit the nail on the head with how to approach Superman. James Gunn does confirm multiple times
I
throughout
like
this
how he's
interview
taking his
that
time, though.
Superman is going to be vulnerable and he's a little less powerful than people
Yeah,
are
I heard
used
about
to.
this too.
He
I
says, I
love
see
this.
the online
I
things. Who
love
would beat
this.
whom?
Bro, I love the fact that he's very vulnerable because it'll make the fights better, bro. The fact that he can, because if they saying he's super vulnerable, it's either he can die to anything other than kryptonite. Well, I ain't gonna just say anything, but he can die from something else other than kryptonite, or they have a crazy amount of kryptonite already on hand, and they'll probably turn them into weapons, or So the fact that they saying he might be able to die a lot easier. Well, they saying he'll be a lot easier to hurt and kill in this movie, bro. It's gonna make everything a lot more better. It's gonna make me and other people on the edge of their seat like, bro, is he dead? Because y'all saw the trailer where his face was deep in a cement, right, bro? Deep inside of the street. That had me stressing, bro. I honestly thought Superman lost
Homelander or
because we ain't
Superman
never
or
really
effing
seen
whatever,
Superman get beat
Adam
up
Warlock
except
or
for
Brightburn. And
Superman
I'm
and
like,
Lois show
this is the
at the
effing
end.
stupidest effing conversation. Like, so then whoever would win the fight means that they're the best? Because I'll just go out and write God-Man, who can destroy you with a wink, and I win. I win
Damn.
all the fights forever. But I didn't want a Superman who could punch planets.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
also,
yeah.
we're creating a whole universe now. So what's a girl with wings gonna do in the face of that? So he's a little less powerful. Green Lantern, Guy Gardner's pretty effing powerful. They're all pretty powerful. And I gotta say, I do really love that. He also says that what cracked Superman for him, the script, was Krypto, and confirms that Superman falling into the snow and Krypto coming to get him is the beginning of the movie. He says, the beginning of the movie
okay.
is the first thing I wrote, with Krypto coming to Superman in the snow and Krypto taking him home. That really was about the tone of the whole movie. It's a flying
Bro,
dog
I'm
who
glad
wears
they
a
got
cape,
Krypto
but
in this,
that led
though.
immediately to the robots, to the fortress rising from the ground, to the device that isn't in the comics, the giant magnifying glass, which powers him up more quickly than just the regular sun would. Bringing all those elements into a Superman movie in a way that hasn't happened, not to mention that he exists in a world where superheroes or some form of metahumans have existed for 300 years. It's just a different thing. And last but not least, he mentioned something that has kind of been controversial for a long time. How people can't recognize that Clark Kent is Superman
with the
because
glasses. I
of
heard
the
they gonna
glasses. Rolling
talk
Stone
about
asks,
it
in the
movie or
Superman
something, right?
trailer, we see that Lois already knows Clark is Superman. So you bypassed one of the stickiest issues. How does Lois not see past the glasses? James Gunn says, it comes up again later in the movie, and it's explained.
Okay, that's
she
good.
Says
That's
it.
good.
We
We
mention
all
it.
got, bro. We all have to know this, bro, because being real, Superman got probably one of the most, bro. His disguise is just retarded, bro. Bro's disguise is a pair of glasses, and possibly his hair changed a little bit because I do believe when he take off the glasses, his hair changed to a different side or something like that. I could be tripping. But I'll really be wondering, like, bro, are those glasses supernatural or something like that, bro? Because, like, bro, it don't even make, bro, everybody should just know he's Superman. What they gonna do?
It's a one-off and people chuckle, but there's stuff later in the movie about the glasses that are canon.
But
That's
I'm glad they're
canon
going to
in the
explain
comics.
it, though.
So I gotta say, overall,
I feel like the
think James
explanation will be
Gunn
funny,
really
yeah.
is about to be on a huge role here with Superman, with the future of DC. I think everything he
Guardians
said
of the
so
Galaxy
far
movies
is him
was
showing that he is
something
handling
crazy,
it
bro.
all with care. And I gotta
I'm
say,
glad.
I'm
I'm glad
super...
he finally. I'm glad he captain of the ship now. So he finna start. We finna see what we couldn't see when he was at Marvel. You know what I'm saying? His full potential is unlocked. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much. And I'm excited for it. You know what I'm saying? Every movie he drop, I will try to watch it. You know what I'm saying? So James Gunn, bro, keep going, bro. Don't stop, man. I'm excited for the movies you got coming up, bro. And please, if you see this video, do something with Aquaman, please. I really want to see Aquaman more. I really love water powers and all that stuff. That's why I like my favorite, Greek gods, Poseidon, all that stuff. I love the whole ice, water power, and all that stuff. So please touch on Aquaman again, bro.